Leathermans are pricey. So if you're on a budget, what's the alternative? Or I think for many of us, we've already thrown down the hard-earned money on a Leatherman tool, but we're looking for a backup multi-tool. Regardless if it's just in the junk drawer in the house, you want it in a fishing kit, go bag, or your vehicle, it can be hard to justify to the pocketbook and the wife that you need to get 2 Leatherman waves. So in the past, what I have tested and reviewed here at the channel that I felt really fit that niche well is the Gerber, there we go, Gerber, is it upside down? There we go. Gerber suspension NXT. I paid $30 for this about a year ago. It has a lot of features in it that connected with me. I tested it hard and it passed every test that I put it through. Well, BIBURY has cloned the Gerber suspension NXT, and in so doing have actually tweaked a few little things that I found are actually better than the Gerber version, and they have sliced the cost in half. I paid $16 for this multi-tool, which is just mind-boggling. I mean, what can you truly get for like the cost of a movie ticket and cheaper than 2 Chipotle meals out with your significant other? I mean, it is mind-boggling. So we're gonna unpack what this BIBURY multi-tool has, how does it stack up compared to the original, and is it worth throwing in rotation as a backup, or if you're just on a tight budget, what is it capable of and what maybe it's not capable of. Thanks for joining me, guys. If you're a regular viewer, thanks for hanging with me. If you're new to the channel, I'm Aaron. This is Gideonstactical. Let's dive in. Now, when I say clone, I wouldn't be surprised if BIBURY is constructing their multi-tool in the same factory that Gerber is. And we're gonna see that the layouts are very similar, the tools are nearly identical, but BIBURY has changed and tweaked enough stuff that it's not like an absolute identical piece. The pocket clip lips are slightly different. The hardware has been changed slightly. The suspension has a polymer tube lanyard hole body. They've just done like a polymer cap on the BIBURY. And there are a few other layout aspects that they're just like slightly tweaked. But if you're familiar with the suspension, this is almost identical. But there are 2 things that BIBURY has done right out of the gate that I noticed that speak to an actually slightly better build quality, which is mind-blowing. The first is on the pocket clips. This Gerber pocket clip is extremely flexy, and I mean, I could just like bend it backwards right out of the gate. This thing has a better density on the BIBURY. It does not flex as much, and it's a lot tougher to, do something to cause it to be damaged. This one feels very cheap, and the BIBURY actually has a better density level. Followed up with that you can obviously remove it, and it has this little notch to hold the pocket clip on the BIBURY, and they've given you another notch so you can swap it and make it an ambidextrous pocket carry. The Gerber does not have that. It's stuck right there. You could remove it, but that's it. There's no other lips to be able to notch it into. So you're actually getting better setup on the BIBURY, and it will come with a little, I mean, it's super cheap and kind of junky, but button, 1 loop nylon sheath. And there's also tool rigidness and density. The Gerber weighs 6.7 ounces, has a lot of cut-ins right here. And one of the things I never really was stoked on is that there's a lot of flex when we do that. There's a lot of flex and play. The tools kind of bounce in and out pretty easily, and I've tried to like tighten them down and stuff, and that's about what you're getting. Well, the BIBURY is 8 ounces. It's 1.3 ounces heavier. They've actually overlaid the body with a secondary piece of metal right there on all 4 corners or on all 4 sides. And that in conjunction with what seems to be a tighter pivot, you can see it still flexes a little bit, but it's about half of what my suspension will do. Those 2 things lead it to have a more rigid structure to it and less movement and flex, leading to, in theory, longer longevity under harder tasks. So when they're under hard use, the extra heft and kind of rigidness of the BIBURY gives me more confidence in harder tasks than the original suspension NXT, which is just wild. And in just a moment, we'll unpack all the different tools, how they perform, where they lag and where they excel in. But before we do that, I want to invite you to hit that like button. That always helps us go up in the rankings and recommendations here on YouTube. It's a simple way to support the channel. And if you have not yet subscribed, I invite you to become a subscriber so you can be notified every week when I put up new content, giving you guys breakdowns on gear and equipment to help you determine if it's really worth pursuing or it's better to go in a different direction. And it is truly you, the viewers, in partnership with our regular sponsors that help me to create content just like this. And I want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, which is Hardside Hydration and their Swig Rig systems. I have here the original Swig Rig attached to one of my Yeti water bottles, already run through the pack, ready for tomorrow's hike. And it is the best way I've found to give me that hands-free hydration and not have to deal with those cumbersome hydration bladders that are a headache to clean and fill and just maintain. And this makes it a lot more streamlined. Dane and Dustin, the founders of this brand, coming up with this idea that I've been wishing for years. And when I discovered, I was like, man, I got to get the word out about this streamlined design. And you may be sitting there, well, dude, I don't like the weight of those thicker Nalgene's and other, heavy water bottles. Well, they got that covered with the 28mm ultralight Swig Rig. This is designed to fit on water bottles like Smart Bottle and things like that, giving you the ability to cut down on weight of the bottle itself, but still having 1.5 liters of water attached to the exterior of your pack. And so guys, all the link in the description box below over to the Hardside Hydration website, along with my exclusive 10% off promo code that you can apply towards your purchase, so you can start exploring all the different Swig Rig systems and their accessories and really dial in what makes the most sense for you so that you can stay hydrated on all of your adventures this summer. So let's begin with the pliers, which is probably why you're looking at this tool versus non-pliered like Swiss Army knives and all the variants that now exist out there. And when we look at the heads themselves, you can see that they're basically identical. You're gonna get the needle nose up front. You've got bolt teeth to be able to hold on to bolts and grip easily. These both perform basically identically in all of that. And then you do have cutters, wire cutters, that will connect. They don't overlap, so that's just how they work. They're not replaceable in any way. And I went through all kinds of stuff with the original suspension, worked fine, and this cut through the different types of like 16 gauge wire, doing some different cables with coating over it, as well as going through a coat hanger, and I didn't have any deforming of the teeth. The teeth seem to still be very functional. And the tip of the needle nose didn't disalign or give me any weird stuff like that. Now, it's a light duty plier, so I wouldn't be trying to just go through crazy stuff constantly, but for light duty tasks, it absolutely can compete with the original Gerber and can get a lot of tasks done, which again is just wild for that, sub $20 price point. And I will have links throughout the video below to both of these pliers, both the Gerber and the BIBURY, so you can determine throughout the video if you're ready to pull the trigger. Those are provided below. But with that, let's go ahead and look at the blade, because I feel like that's the secondary thing that we would care about and want to see function a lot. And these are spring loaded, just like the suspension. And I found that the resistance and the rebound is actually a little bit faster on the BIBURY, which is nice. That's not a bad thing. Now, when we close it up, I will tell you this is not an ergonomic tool, neither version. It's just for quick cuts. It's weird, it kind of flares out, it's very blocky, and it definitely has a lot of odd transitions. So this is not something that you're gonna wanna, cut for an extended period of time with, but you are getting that little blade right there. That is a combo edge. I would have preferred plain edge, but it's fine. It just, mirrors that. And it went through everything that I would want it to. Cardboard, just doing minor tasks. This wouldn't be a tool I would choose to have as a daily EDC if I'm doing a lot of cutting, but I could, make some feather sticks and get a fire going in an emergency if I had to. And because every tool is locking, has this little wing you just pull back, and then that collapses whatever tool you have out, so all the tools lock, which is great. That's just an added benefit. Now, I don't know what steel BIBURY is using. I went on their site, looked around, I couldn't find it. I have no idea what Gerber uses either, but I'm sure it's, a very low grade alphabet soup Chinese type of steel. So it's not something that you're gonna hold an edge for a very long period of time. You're gonna have to resharpen it regularly if you are using the blade quite a bit. Now, the scissors have a different storage design and spring feature, but they basically perform identically. On the BIBURY, it's designed in a way that you just open it up and engage. There's your spring right there, and then you go to work. And it went through paracord, no problem, and went through like a yoga mat without any issue. So you're definitely gonna get the task done that you want, and because it's spring loaded, it's pretty ergonomic, and it's a pretty quick deployment, and then you just pull your locking mechanism again back, and then it just closes directly into the body. Whereas on the Gerber, you have kind of this back and forth where you use this lip here, it's gonna come kind of open, you're gonna then swing the blade back, and then use. Good spring load feature, and I would say the spring load action is slightly better on the Gerber. There's a little bit better rebound. Now, when it comes to the driver, you're gonna get about a 2-inch 3D Phillips screwdriver that I tested 3 separate types of screws on, and the first 2 was able to extract them without any issue, no stripping, no bumping, no jumping, or anything like that. Exactly, it's identical to what's on this Gerber. But when I came to the third one, which had kind of a flat head, Phillips head combo, it wasn't really able to engage that very well. And ultimately I had to use one of the other 2 flat head options, and I ended up going with the flat head that's really thick on the file. So you're gonna get a little tiny file. It gets the job done. The edges are not filed, is just the top, but that's enough to take some burrs off of metal or kind of file a corner of a piece of wood if you had to, and then you can use it as a pry bar or as a screwdriver, as I did, and then you get a laughable little tiny ruler on the other side there. And then if that is too thick, you have 2 different options on the opposite, including the can opener, bottle lifter, or bottle cap opener, and little mini flathead right there. That's one tool. And then you get the main flathead, and that also has a wire stripper notch right there. And there are a few sharp angles on this that you could throw a spark off of like a ferrocerium rod if you needed to. Now, in general, when it comes to driving the screws on either the original Gerber or this BIBURY, it's not a super organic way of driving the screws because of the weird cockeye dimensions there, that you're kind of like really, it's an awkward way to go unless you open up the tool. And then this is a lot more organic like this to use any of the drivers. So that's just something to kind of be aware of. Leathermans and other types of multi-tools seem to be more ergonomically laid out to operate the drivers easily when the tool is closed. And that's just a fault of the multi-tool's design in general. Now, you will get a lockable lanyard hole if you want to run lanyards, that if you don't, you just disconnect the lock and then it'll hide away in the body. And then you get a double-edged awl that will puncture through, like I did some cardboard and some rubber, and it went through that without issue. Now, back in the day when I first tested this, I was pretty impressed. For 30 bucks, you know, well-known Gerber name, you do get their lifetime warranty, and that where I went to the BIBURY website, I think it's like 15 days if I read it correctly on the website. Maybe I missed it somewhere, but that's what I saw, is like about 2 weeks to return this. But currently on Amazon, the suspension is like 35 bucks. So at half the cost, I can buy 2 of these, and it seems to be almost identically laid out, and certain aspects are actually more rigid, more, to me in my mind, meaning more durability. Overall, it just makes total sense to go with this, depending on what you really want out of the tool. Now, have proper expectations. If you're a tradesman, if you work on vehicles, heavy machinery, and a multi-tool is going to be a daily, all the time type of tool, then spend the extra money and, you know, get yourself a Leatherman or a Swiss Army Spirit, or like, you know, a high-end Gerber that's made in America. This is a great kind of introductory tool, or again, just kind of like a junk drawer backup. Throw it in your fishing kit, you know, pull the hooks out of your fish and do, you know, line work and different things like that. Or to carry in other scenarios like that. It will definitely get those light duty tasks done. And I mean, mind-bogglingly at under 20 bucks. So that's me and my mileage. I look forward to hearing your guys' thoughts and take on this BIBURY multi-tool and whether or not it makes sense for you. And I always appreciate you guys hanging with me today. I hope it's been fun and entertaining and giving you the data you need to determine if this is the right tool to put in rotation or not. Again, check out the other video popping up, subscribe if you haven't yet, and until next time, always remember to stay equipped, stay prepared, and I'll see you out there.